DJ.
Yo, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. And yes, I'm back. And yes, I said 10:30, but when two good friends get behind the stage and they start talking shop, they start talking life, well, 45 minutes later, we're here. And we're blessed to have John Murges back. He came on a few weeks ago and made his debut with raving reviews. And everyone's asking, when's John coming back? When's John coming back? Well, he's back. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. John Murges.
All right. Back with Jeff. Glad to be here, my friend. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. We had a 9:35 show in Florida with Beating the Bookie, Mr. Rob himself, talking a little Honda Classic. And I get to stay in the state of Florida and come back and circle the wagons with you.
Well, let me ask you something. Did you make that last putt behind you?
These are the glory days. Brookline, the Brookline Country Club. I was there for the Ryder Cup way back when Justin Leonard made that putt from 65 feet. Then the U.S. Open was here on Father's Day, I think last year it was. And so I put it up there just saying spring is coming and the Masters will be here soon. How's that?
Well, it's nice that spring is coming there because here in Sarasota, it's about 83 degrees right now, unseasonably warm. I mean, people come down to Florida and they think, oh, it's warm all the time. It's not. But for this time of year, 83 degrees is pretty warm. Guys are out golfing. This is golf heaven. Lots of courses around where I live. Lots of courses. Right down the street, they have Bobby Jones, which is a course that was actually designed by Bobby Jones. It's Sarasota's oldest golf course. They're remodeling it. The greats, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, the Yankees used to train, close by, have all played there. And so it's just a pretty cool place. But as I said, they're redoing it. There's a lot of tough courses here on the West Coast, a lot of tough ones on the East Coast. You'll have to come down and we'll shoot a few rounds.
Absolutely.
And drink a few rounds.
You don't have to ask me twice. So I will put that one in the calendar for sure. Obviously, you're here. So you survived the Super Bowl. You survived the NBA All-Star Weekend. You want to circle back the Super Bowl, how you made out, what you thought of the game. It was an amazing game. And then I don't know if you dabbled in the NBA All-Star and the props and all that other, whatever we want to call it.
I took Team Giannis personally as a personal bet. I don't want to put it out there or let anybody know. It's just personal. But my grandson and I, little Maximus, who everybody sees on Twitter, he's 5 years old. He's a big NBA fan. He was for Team LeBron. So not only disappointed about that, but more disappointed about his Eagles, his father's Eagles. His father's from Philly, and they're just crazed fans, as you know. Newbie's one of them, Dan Alexander. But yeah, I was on Philly, and I don't want to, make a big deal about this late flag, but that's what a tick. I don't, a lot of people agree it was a ticky-tack call. I mean, you watch the seventh game of the Stanley Cup. And unless a guy, whacks a guy in the face with his stick, they pretty much let him play. They let them decide who's going to be the champion of that season. And for this ref, and he's got a reputation. We won't get into details, but there's some questions about him. And but to throw the flag in that spot, he didn't hold him that long, but it was a hold. But let's not have the zebras decide the game. So I was disappointed. I'm not bitter. I was disappointed. But now, hey, listen, we learned from this. We know what to expect from the National Entertainment League. I mean, the NFL. We know what to expect. They're going to let the referees do what I don't know what they feel is their job, and it affected the outcome, which it shouldn't. And the only thing that cashed was that garbage, no good, worst bet in the world. Philly +4 over 43.5, 6-point teaser. That's the only thing that cashed. Everything else lost. My Eagles, I lost a couple $1,000. Last year I won $5,000 on the Rams. So I shouldn't be one to complain. And that's one of the reasons I didn't bet personally. The Super Bowl is one of my bigger bets of the season, as you would kind of figure. And you know what I said? I said I'm going to bet half what I won last year with the Rams money line. And so I did. I lost $2,500 minus the 600 I won, $1,900. Actually, $2,200. So I'm good. We moved on and we pivoted to college basketball. I've been hanging in there. Nothing to brag about, but as you know more than anybody, this is a marathon. We're not going to get rich tomorrow. But we will make money over the course of a season. I know you do. I mean, I can testify to that you'll make your clients money over the course of a season. We were talking, we did a whole show, a private show, you and I, as you said, 45 minutes we were talking. I got some great information. If that was live, people would probably call that the greatest show ever.
Our buddy Mr. Smooth says, Murges can't even let a friend know that he was going on the show. Actually, Sean, I did retweet our show yesterday and today. Unfortunately, the new algorithm, you can't see what I have like 10,000 followers. I follow about 7,000 of them back. And I used to be able to just sit back on Twitter and see our buddy Dave, see our buddy Sean, see your work, everyone's work. Now I have to go to the search bar to find anyone's work. It's disgusting what's on Twitter right now. You can't find anyone's work.
It is. It's sad because there's so much saturation, as we've talked about, from guys just trying to steal people's money. The last thing, I mean, you've got a reputation of years in this business. I've got a 40-year reputation of, we know my story, but 40 years in this business. I've got a family, I've got grandchildren. I'm not out to take anybody's money. I'm always available to consult, and I'm happy to do it. Hey, should I be compensated for my work? Of course, everybody should. But you got to be an honest guy, as you are, as Dave is. Our buddy Sean, he doesn't even put picks out, except he'll give me or you his picks. Sean's going to be relevant in the next month or so, right, Jeff?
Oh, listen, Sean will be coming on for the preps before the Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont, and then hopefully this year we'll get him on for the Breeders' Cup. So Sean is a very relevant man and a very busy man that time of year.
Oh, he really is. And he'll not only come on your show, but he'll be on TVG and, different people. A lot of people that will call up, hey, Sean, can you come on? And, it's always good to get his futures bets. Those futures are up there still. And I like just looking at the lines over here. We always watch for that line movement. Some sharp comes in. I want to see it. And I'm going to transfer over because we'll do, if you don't mind, later on, we'll do a little college baseball because you know what? It's becoming more and more relevant as far as college baseball. People are betting on everything, which you and I will say, hey, listen, you want to limit what you bet on. You want to bet what we know or what you're comfortable with. But Sean knows a guy, and maybe you'll have him on one day. Matt Grissom, a friend of his, and then I think we talked about Matt last week. Matt's really knowledgeable um, college baseball handicapper.
I am one of these guys that gravitate, if it's working, stick with it.
Right.
And we've had an amazing run here the last 13 weeks, only one losing week. We've had 10 envelope Mondays. We've had 2 pushes and move on. Starting the week off with a big dog on Monday, so we lost 3/4 of a unit. Last night we had the big 0 for 3, 2 overs in colleges that were thanks for playing early, and we needed Edmonton to get to 5 for plus money, and they got stuck on stupid. They decided to play just the third period, and they scored 4. So again, now we're in uncharted waters the last 3+ months. Down about 4 units going into Wednesday. But again, I'm 100% transparent. And this. You can't stay on a heater this long. People are scratching their head saying, Jeff, my book took the hockey totals off now. I can't bet them. I mean, your run right now is off the chart. And listen, I've been in these lanes for 8+ years for public service. In 2017, we went on the greatest conference championship and March Madness run. We went 30-2. It will never be duplicated. Okay. No. Now, the last 13 weeks, we ended December 26-5. We started January 12-2. We started February 11-0. And I'm just like Cinderella. I'm waiting for some shoes to fall off here. And you've been in this business for 40 years too. You just pinch yourself every day when you're looking at the finals and you're like, we did it again.
How is this happening? Yeah, and you know what, and really to your credit, you went 0-3. Yeah, that happens. It happens. It happens to me. It happens to you. We I don't I can't remember the last 0-7 or 0-8. I mean, you could break a streak, but it happens, man. That's why, like I said, this is not a 100-yard dash here. This is a marathon. And we treat this as though we're on Forex right now, trading commodities or, trying to short stocks. You're not going to get rich that day. You make some money. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're not going to get rich. But over the long term, listen, you and I, we're not kids. This is how we make our living. I mean, betting sports. I have never had it. Well, being a bookmaker is a job, and it takes a lot to be successful at it, and there's a lot of hours, off hours. But I've never had to go and collect a paycheck from some company or anything else. This is all I do. This is not a side gig for me, nor is it a side gig for you. This is our job. Do the best we can at it.
So we're in transition, and for me, I couldn't be happier that the pigskin is on the desk till August. Now we'll be doing work, checking the futures market. We'll be doing all that legwork. But for me, I'm a kid in a candy store now because it's getting closer to conference championship week. It's getting closer to March Madness. We have the WBC coming up. We will have MLB opening day coming up. Then we get to the warmer weather after that. We have the Masters. Then before you know it, we'll be calling Sean for the Kentucky Derby. And my question to you is, in any part of this, on the left side of the brain, the XFL is out there. Have you even looked at it, or you just let everyone else have fun with that?
I had Washington plus 2.5 last game, and I fell asleep. It was a night game. You know what I did? Well, here's and this is something that people really don't realize, but just for fun. And I know Crackman will disagree, and when you put money up, but for $25 or $50 to have a little money on the game. The first XFL bet, I look at the roster. It's not like when they're blind and just flip the quarter. So, Washington looks like they can compete. These teams are good. They got, quarterback play is questionable, but let's see what happens. And sure enough, I wake up and Washington won. But Will I look into it? Yeah, you know what, Jeff? To be honest, not really. I might make another bet. I might bet the championship game. But like you said, this is a really busy time of year. We're looking at college basketball. I'm dabbling in college baseball. Um, and then we, with baseball coming up, I want to go to some spring training games. I'd like to go to some practices. I got Baltimore, I got Pittsburgh. I know they're going to be crappy. I'd like to go up to New York because the practices are open to the public, and a lot of people don't realize that. And not only are there organization guys there that are just standing there or sitting on the bleachers watching, but they're accessible. You could talk to these people and get a feel of how these teams are. Something I've done here in Florida for years. And I know scouts. I don't know if you remember the old pitcher Juan Augusto. Pitched for about 8 years, journeyman pitcher. I became really good friends with Juan Augusto. He worked for Scott Boras. Now I know you know who Scott Boras is, the agent, sports agent, and he took me down to Miami years ago. We went into the locker room, the Marlins locker room. Juan didn't have a license, but he was like a recruiter with guys, and he'd get guys to change agencies. Through him, I met guys like Luis Quinones and just a lot of journeyman guys. But Juan and I had a boat at the marina, not too far from where I live, and we became really good friends. And I heard some of the greatest baseball stories I've ever heard from Juan Augusto. But like I said, I will go check out some practices and probably go to some games.
Let's transition college baseball. We were talking behind the desk last year, the epic run by Tennessee that fell well short expectations. It was like Tiger Woods in his prime. It was Tennessee versus the field, and they were that good that
Yeah.
the Tennessee side looked pretty damn good versus
You
the
figured
field.
they were going to win it. They were going to win it all. I mean, I'm looking. When I glance over, I just pulled up the RPI, and Tennessee's not even in the top 10 right now. They lost a lot of guys. Jeff, do you know who NJIT number 7 in the country? I have no idea who that team is. I'll have to Google it.
I would
But,
have to. Is that something like New Jersey Institutional Technology or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, something. I don't know. I'm afraid to press on it. I'll lose a screen. But Ole Miss is one in the country. Ole Miss is going to be good this year, no doubt about it. Florida number 2, and then as we talked about in our private conversation, the powerhouse number 3 ranked RPI. I know it's early in the season. Most teams have only played one series. Ranked number 3 in the country is Central Michigan Chippewas. Wow, where do they recruit from? Um, it's just surprising. But going back to that, last week I tweeted it out. Because Twitter's my social media platform of choice, and and Texas. I'm sorry, Alabama was playing a 4-game series, or was it a 3-game series against? I'm sorry. Well, anyhow, so they win the first game 12-2, I believe it was. And the second game 13-3. And I said to myself, there's no way Richmond, that's who they played, Richmond, small school doing their southern trip. The total's 11.5. So I get on to a couple sites, 2 sites that I use. I don't want to badmouth them. They didn't offer any college baseball. They do, but today they weren't offering any college baseball games. Then I go to another site, and it said I try to put a nickel down on it. I'm like, 11.5 is the total. They're playing Richmond. I mean, that they didn't leave these Richmond pitchers in there to get shellacked in 2 games, so they went through a lot of pitching. And being a former college baseball player myself, pitcher, I kind of know how it works, man. Guys get worn out pretty easy. Especially you guys that play not only pitch but but play a position, which you'll find every team has at least one guy that plays outfield and then pitches um, once every 4 or 5 starts. And I said to myself, man, that 11 and a half is such a low number. I got to get $500 down on that over. And they limited me to $100. So I said, the hell with it. Put $100 down on the game. Of course, um, Alabama scores 14 themselves, and it was just that's how it ended, 14-1. But there's some new rules in place. Maybe next show we'll go into the baseball. As baseball season progresses, they'll be more interested in college baseball.
Can you tell all the people watching and listening that might want to start dabbling in college baseball where they might be able to go to get some of their information, or where you have had success, trying to find, a lot, like you said, a lot of the books don't offer college baseball. So obviously you'd have to shop around then, but where can you get some of this information on these teams?
I mean, basically there's a lot of new stuff out there that I'm just dabbling into, but I use the RPI rankings. They're pretty accurate. It's been around for years. Um, I noticed Matt Grissom, who I mentioned, is really, starting to put a lot of content out there regarding college baseball. Um, I haven't checked Sagarin this year, but there's quite a few. Just for the people out there, just type in Google college baseball rankings, and then go to page 3. That's where you find a lot of websites that we'd miss because they're not ranked up there in Google because they're new. And there's information out there, but as we talked about before the show, you can give somebody as much information that there is. And if they don't know how to utilize and decipher, translate, whatever word you want to use, that information, what good is it? They're not giving you winners, they're giving you, rankings and numbers and power rankings. And it's up to you or guys like me to translate that into what team we're going to take in this situation.
Couple weeks left to the conference till conference championship week, and then obviously Selection Sunday and March Madness. Do you have any futures? Do you dabble into the future market in college hoops, or you just sit tight and play these game by game, day by day?
As we talked about, unfortunately this season, when I was out in Vegas in August, after 2 days of getting there, and I'm going out there to do my football futures and, get everything ready. And my wife's not a big sports bettor unless I get her the tickets. And I got so sick with COVID that I actually had to wear a mask back and, everything else. I'm lucky I was able to fly. But I got so sick and I didn't dabble in any college basketball futures. And they were out there and I was well prepared to do it. It's the first year that I didn't. So, taking a break, probably wasn't the most opportune thing, but I'll be ready to go for next season. As soon as they come out, I'm dabbling in some baseball totals. I'm watching them move a little bit. I want to see because they move a half a game. We were talking about the Cubs game last time I was on. I mean, the Cubs future, it's down. It went from 78 to 77.5. So it just tells you right there that money is coming in on the under. They'll have good pitching, decent pitching, and they'll have some hitting, but that's a tough division to compete in. The National League Central Division. But other than that, I haven't pressed that final button yet, and got any plays in yet. When I do, though, I'll let you know. I mean, we'll talk about it. Post some tickets, whatever I have to do to, get people more interested. I know you've done some.
Yeah. So as you're progressing towards opening day, what is usually an average year for you? I mean, do you look at a half dozen to a dozen under overs, or are you just trying to find out which ones you think are the best? Is it just, if you did a dozen all for a union, how do you tell the novice? You got 40 years into this, you had, your bookmaking experience. Now you're on the other side. And like me, we follow these numbers. We look for the half. Why did this go down a half? Was it a sharp play, or did someone get injured? Or, the
Right.
brain starts going. How do you put all this together, John?
Just like you said, you ask yourself, there's been a move, and how did that move occur? And then you do a deeper dive into it. And what I've done for years, what I do for football, especially college football, just to give you an example of how we do this, is that I look at the school newspapers, and all these guys want to be sports writers, or you ladies, guys, ladies, they want to be in the content business, sports writers, work at a network, whatever it is. And so there'll be a lot of information just in the local school, in the university newspaper, um, for college football. Now, when it comes to MLB, there's so many resources for MLB. Somebody gets injured in spring training, we're going to get an alert on our phones. I know that your phone and my phone are probably set up for alerts, breaking news. Not in what's going on in the world. Who gives a crap about that? What's going on in sports? That's what we care about. You know, for all I know, we could be being nuked right now, and I wouldn't care. I just want games to be able to play. They missed us. Oh, good. We got games tonight then.
Speaking of games, we got a full slate of college hoops tonight.
Ooh,
Numbers.
boy,
The Spanky odds board is lighting up like a Christmas tree.
boy, you
Lines
told
moving.
me this Spanky odds board, huh? I gotta get on there.
Anyone watching and listening, that is the go-to in my eyes. This is done like I told you, it's Don Best on steroids, and he's done an amazing job.
Yeah.
And hats off to Spanky, and thank the community. Thanks you for all your hard work here. Anything jumping at you today in the college hoops?
Yeah, Iowa at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been a huge disappointment. I even tweeted it out. That game stuck out at me right away. I said, excuse me. I said, definitely jump on Iowa. I think I got a -1, but it's not a huge board tonight. I'm on the just for quick reference. I'm on the Score app, and there's not, Houston's playing Tulane in Houston. Giving them 15 points. I don't know, man. Illinois was giving Minnesota 15 the other day, and you just think that Illinois should come out there and crush them. I'm not going to say anything suspicious happened, but it seemed a little strange towards the end of that game that Illinois was not able to cover. I'm really at this point of the season skeptical about laying a lot of points. You're going to want to start to rest guys eventually for the conference tournament. And I'm not saying rest them for the game, but take them out if you built a 20-point lead or 22-point lead. And there's 9 minutes left, 10 minutes left. Give some guys a little rest, man. First of all, you don't want to risk any kind of injury. And it's huge. We've seen in the past star players in college, high ranked teams with a knee injury or an ankle injury at the end of the season. Could devastate a team. You don't want to do that. But there's a lot out there for MLB. And I use everything from, whatever's available. I read a lot more than most on the internet, of course. You know, I can't find a newspaper to save my life. I think that New York Times that I showed you or New York Post was the last one ever printed for sale in Florida, because now they took the newspaper stands away. And it's just something about holding it, looking at the box scores. That's just the old school part of me. But I've adapted. I've got two iPads next to me on my left, an iPhone in front of me, and a computer here. So not only, and we talked about this earlier, you and I come from a time pre-computer. And then we learned not only how to handicap using no computer and how to try to get information, usually by calling people, talking to people. Now, not only do we take some of that with us into this new era of handicapping and investing in sports, but I think it gives us a huge edge because we understand line movement. We understand that this is a betting market. It's just not sport; it's a market, and so we use all that to our advantage. So, and this is no slight towards the younger people that are getting involved, but I was, as they would say, young and dumb once too, and thought I knew everything. I didn't know. Well, I didn't know shit. Um, and I think now I do have some knowledge, as you do, Jeff.
I'm going to close and ask you this. I can't drink the Kool-Aid. I can't wrap my head around it. I look at the college hoops, and I think the two best teams in the country are Houston and UCLA. Now, I'm not saying Alabama can't run the tables. I say there's 15 teams that can cut the net down, win 6 in a row come the second weekend or first weekend of April. The one team I can't wrap my head around is the defending champs. This past week, they rolled Oklahoma, and then on Saturday, down 18, 13 at half to Baylor. They outscored them by 29. And then, of course, the joke on Monday was they were 1-point favorites overnight. Then TCU was 2-point favorites in the morning.
Right.
And they had already beaten them by 22 in Kansas. And I noted that Kansas was 2-0 on their revenge tour. We released TCU minus 128 on the money line. We left the 2.5 on the desk. TCU closed money line minus 170. And my question to you: are you drinking the Kansas Kool-Aid? Why can't I wrap myself around this team?
I'm not drinking the Kansas Kool-Aid. I agree. I think there's no doubt Houston is the most talented team in college basketball. There's no doubt about it. Alabama, they're up there. Purdue might not be as good as people believe they are. Yeah, with the record of 23-4, they're still in their last 10 games are 7-3. Probably out of the top 5 teams, Virginia's taken a little bit of they've won 4 in a row, but they're 6-3. They had a little bit of a light area. You're going to go through those patches, these college teams. I mean, shit, they've played almost 30 games already. By the time the Final Four is done, the champion will have played 40 games, and so it's going to be that kind of thing. It's a bloodbath. We're going to pay attention to the seedings. I like to see where these teams are going to be seeded, but most of that's decided before the conference tournament. And you have to be careful. These conference tournaments, it's, as just like the tournament, the big dance is, it's do or die. And so you're going to get your best from teams that you wouldn't expect to be able to compete. This is it. This could be their last game. They're going to give it all they have. So just a little secret. I look for double-digit dogs in the conference tournament from teams that have shown to be competitive in their conference during the regular season. And competitive, I mean, they could be 2-10 in conference play or 3-12, whatever it might be. But if they were competitive in those games against their opponent in the conference tournament, and now they find themselves 12, 13-point underdogs, it's a good thing to look at. But that's one of my little secrets right there that I just let out for everybody. I'll let out a secret of show. How's that sound?
Well, we can't wait. Our goal is obviously to get you on more often. We talked behind the scenes about, a weekly appearance where as this weather gets warmer back east. Now you got all the warmth you need, we know, down in Florida. So, you can share it and send it back east. It's okay,
You don't mind I putting I got to go out for a while, so I'm putting my sunscreen on now. I know there's a snowstorm coming. Yeah. But yeah, I'll try not to get sunburned, but I do like that George Hamilton. A lot of the younger guys won't know who the hell's George Hamilton. That nice George Hamilton tan. So when I appear with you. Now, is that vodka or coffee I'm looking at it right there?
That was coffee.
So you guys got to worry because when a guy doesn't disclose, what he's now, this could be vodka. We could be fooling everybody. Actually, it is. I just got back from the show. I wasn't on a bender all night, so and I got back at 10:25. So we actually did not have a conversation. You were just waiting for me to get back from the bar, but I'll
There
just
you
do a
go.
shot and look forward to my next appearance.
The one and only John Murges. If you guys are not following him, please go to Twitter at Murges John. Follow him. He'll follow you back. He is an amazing follow. Is 100% transparent as we are. He's been in this business forever. A bookmaker back in Chicago, now in Florida, living the life, living in these lanes on a day-to-day basis, just grinding it out with the best of them. And John, we thank you here, and we look forward to your next appearance.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Great to be on.
In an hour and 11 minutes, the third show of the day, Andrew McGinnis at McGinnis Pick Wager Talk. We'll talk some pucks, props, and futures, and then we will see what the rest of the afternoon brings. So thank everyone that has watched, and we will see you soon.